Clemson, like Florida State, is also suing its way out of the ACC. And the Big Ten noticed. Does that mean Big Ten expansion will be here sooner than later? Yes, it does. That's a big yes. I'll explain. Locked On Big Ten starts right now.
You are Locked On Big Ten, your daily podcast on the Big Ten Conference. Part of the Locked On Podcast Network. Your team every day.
Welcome to Locked On Big Ten. I'm Craig Sheeman, coming up on 40 years as a sports talk show host and play-by-play announcer. Thank you for making us your first listen each and every day. We're free and available wherever you get your podcasts and on YouTube, part of the Locked On Podcast Network, your team every day. Well, we're going to get into it here. Clemson's lawsuit is going to push Big Ten expansion upon us on the front burner. We'll get to all of it, plus a ton of Buckeyes news, basketball and football today, and our final men's basketball power rankings of the season. See where your team is. We'll get to that at the end. Hang around for that. So, look, the two most valuable potential expansion candidates for the Big Ten, other than Notre Dame, are Florida State and Clemson. Florida State has led the way among ACC schools that want out of the ACC and out of their low-paying, long-term media rights deal, and they're already knee-deep in lawsuits, actively trying to move forward. Now, in the past, we wondered out loud, hey, why was Florida State kind of all alone there? Where was Clemson in all this? Why were they so quiet about what their plans were? Or had they just accepted that the ACC media rights deal was just too airtight to do anything about it and very expensive, as we know? Then last week, we informed our Locked On Big Ten audience that Clemson was indeed lawyering up, getting their ducks in a row for some legal action. And that came to fruition this week on Tuesday. Clemson filed a lawsuit against the ACC, and they will officially try to leave the ACC. What does this mean for the Big Ten? Well, we'll get to that in a moment because it's all intertwined. The Clemson lawsuit calls into question the ACC's grant of rights media deal and the massive 9-figure exit fees. Many of you are very educated on this and know all about it. We talk about it a lot here. Lawyers use the words like unconscionable and unenforceable when describing these exit fees. Lawyers also said that the fact that the ACC would still own Clemson's media rights after their inevitable departure was wrong and inconsistent with the plain language of the agreement. Basically said this is way unfair. In fact, Clemson lawyers specifically say, after Clemson ceases to be a member of the ACC, ... Yeah, they're leaving, folks. The language is already in there. They're leaving. So is Florida State. Get used to it. And then the musical chairs begin, once again, with conference realignment. We'll be all over that. The lawyers also point out that the exit fee for Clemson is $130 million. Now, during the Florida State lawsuit, we thought it was $120 million. Clemson says $130 million, splitting hairs here, but they say that's triple their operating budget. And it is unenforceable and in violation of public policy. A lot of legal jargon here, a lot of jockeying going on. But with the exit fee and the ACC trying to retain Clemson's media rights after their inevitable departure, it's going to cost each school $572 million, $500 million each. It's crazy. It's one of those deals that's way out there, but it is a deal and it was signed. So we don't know which way this is going to go. And you never know what the courts are going to say. But anyway, the $572 million exit fee and media rights money they'd be leaving on the table. That was a number that was pulled out of the Florida State lawsuit back in December, by the way. As you know, Florida State started this whole party in December, so Clemson's getting going on theirs. I'd be interested to see if North Carolina and some other schools follow with some legal action of their own. I haven't heard anything as of yet. But Clemson and Florida State are the biggest, most lucrative football properties in the ACC, and they both want to leave. They can't wait to get out. It's not bode well for the future of the ACC. The position of Locked On Big Ten is that this conference will implode. The ACC will implode, just like the Pac-12, leaving the college football Power Fives down to a Power 3 And of course, the Big Ten, the SEC, and the Big 12 will be the only ones remaining. But we also think that the Big 12 is on some weak ground and a tough spot here as well. We think ultimately it gets down to two super conferences, the SEC and the Big Ten. It's kind of already that way anyway. We'll explain that in just a second. Another reason that Florida State and Clemson need to get out of the ACC is, and this is where I'm going to follow up with this conversation, the Big Ten and the SEC are the ones that are calling the shots as they formulate who gets in and who gets all the money with the new 12-team, soon to be maybe 14-team playoff. In fact, papers were signed today on that deal. So if you're watching this later on Tuesday is when it was finally signed. And regarding the expanded college football playoffs. Right now, in that deal, each Big Ten and SEC school are expected to get $21 million a year for participating in the playoffs, and the ACC schools only get $13 million. The Big 12 gets a smaller share, and the lesser conferences, they barely get like $1.8 million. Again, the gap widens. The rich get richer. And now, once Clemson and Florida State win these lawsuits, when's the Big Ten going to jump on them? The Big Ten, though, only takes schools. This is the thought out there that they only take schools that belong to the AAU or the Association of American Universities. Now, that's a prestigious club of schools. I think 71 schools at last count that likes to shape policy for higher education, science, and innovation. Clemson and Florida State do not belong to the AAU, but before you all start writing at me here, it's not mandatory for to be in the Big Ten. They like it. They'd prefer it. But many of you are probably already starting to type in Nebraska does not belong to it, and they're in the Big Ten. They're the only one. Every other school in the Big Ten belongs to the AAU. Nebraska doesn't. Does that open the door for maybe other schools that aren't accredited in that way? Now, recently, Notre Dame and Miami have joined the AAU. I know the Big Ten would love Miami. I know the Big Ten would love Notre Dame. They fit the bill. Now, the last time I talked about AAU accreditation and Clemson and how they didn't belong, I can't tell you how many Clemson fans wrote me, all mad at me, all defensive. How dare I besmirch the academics of their school? No such thing. They're a fine school. They're just not AAU accredited. That's all. And that once upon a time was a stumbling block to joining the Big Ten, but it might not be anymore. So everybody, all the keyboard warriors, bring it down. I'm not criticizing Clemson. Look, it used to be a pretty important thing for the Big Ten, and the exceptions, obviously Nebraska. And I would argue that in this day and age, the football and money and TV contracts outweigh academic credentials for being in the club. Now, whether school presidents want to admit that or not, that's up to them. So whether Florida State or Clemson are under Big Ten expansion consideration or not, the results of these lawsuits will go a long way into determining not when, but just or not if, but when and how quickly the ACC blows up and its member institutions scatter to more lucrative Big Ten and SEC conferences. It's going to happen. All right. So what do you think? Let me know. You can hit me up on Twitter or X at TalkBig10, comments on YouTube, and don't forget our website, talkbig1010.com. In the meantime, if you like what you see here, tell a friend about it. Big Ten friends, or better yet, just subscribe. Get in the club, click it. It's free. Doesn't cost you anything at that point at all. Just one click and you're subscribed. It's that simple, and we would love to have more and more of you each and every day on here. Meanwhile, some other things we want to talk about. Chris Holtmann, former Buckeye basketball coach, he tells us what went wrong at Ohio State, and we're not buying it. I'll explain that. Plus spring football news from around the conference. We'll get into all of that. It's all coming up next right here on Locked On Big Ten, your team every day. Better Together. Let me tell you about this. Better Together. It offers a familiar experience for existing daily fantasy sports players with a social twist. You can play with a friend or a teammate This is pretty cool, actually. If you're tired of the same old daily fantasy grind where you make your roster and cross your fingers and just hope for the best, better together, do it with somebody else. Maybe you got a friend that's pretty knowledgeable about this stuff and you can play with your friends, not against them. Or maybe you can pick a couple friends to play with and you play against another group of friends. Get a little rivalry going. And it's a lot of fun. You can pick more or less on real-time player stats and strategize with your partner to boost your odds and climb the leaderboard together. So grab a friend and join. You can create a shared experience together. Splitting a contest entry gives you the feeling of being connected, even when you're apart. And it's a way to stay connected with friends when gone are the days of watching sports together all the time in person. All right. Download Better Together now from the App Store and sign up using the promo code Locked On for a free $5 entry into any NCAA basketball contest. Remember the code Locked On because winning alone is fun, but it's better together. eBay Motors, passion, drive, patience. What brings home the winning trophy is also what brings your ride or die alive. eBay Motors has everything you need to maintain your vehicle and level it up to peak performance. From superchargers, roof racks, exhaust kits, LED headlights, anything you think of practically. Whether you're into speed, power, style, eBay Motors has got you covered. With over 122 million parts, for your number one ride or die, you'll always find exactly what you're looking for. And with eBay Guaranteed Fit, your part is guaranteed to fit your ride every time or your money back. Because with eBay Motors, you're burning rubber, not cash. With all the parts you need at all the prices you want, it's easy to turn your car into the MVP and bring home that win. Keep your ride or die alive at ebaymotors.com. Eligible items only. Exclusions apply. eBay Guaranteed Fit only available to U.S. customers. Hey, thanks for making Locked On Big Ten your first listen each and every day, especially you everydayers out there. Meanwhile, be sure to subscribe. That helps us, helps you, gets us all together, us connected. Subscribe on YouTube. It's free. Share, follow, and like Locked On Big Ten, your team every day. And don't forget to check our website as well at talkbig1010.com. All right. Former Ohio State Buckeyes basketball coach Chris Holtmann explained recently what went wrong during his tenure in Columbus. He was at his opening press conference at DePaul, where he recently was hired. He got a job pretty quickly. And they just named him their head coach last week, had his press conference. And he was asked, what went wrong at Ohio State, in which he was fired about a month before the end of the season. He said, look, there was a problem with roster construction. Says it's too young, too old. They said we were not consistent enough to return to the NCAA tournament. Stop right there. Stop right there. I'm not buying that. Your replacement, Jake Diebler, the interim head coach at the time, went on a stretch where he won 6 out of 7 after you left and won a game in the Big Ten tournament. And let's face it, the Buckeyes came within one win of getting the NCAA tournament, which you just said you couldn't do with this roster. They came their last game of the tournament. They came within 3 points of beating Illinois, which won the whole thing. So I'm not buying that argument. That's a lame excuse. Jake Diebler did a great job with that roster. So anyway, just want to share with you what he said and share with you that we're not buying it at all. We wish him luck at DePaul. This is a bad answer. Staying with the Buckeyes, running backs coach Tony Alford, of course, left for the same job at Michigan a little more than a week ago. A lot of you were very vocal about that move in our comments section, especially you Buckeyes fans. And apparently former NFL running back DeMarco Murray is interviewing for the job in Columbus. By the way, who does the interviews, Ryan Day or Chip Kelly? I'm just asking, not trying to stir anything up. Maybe both, probably both. Murray played 7 years in the NFL, and he peaked in 2014. He rushed for over 1,800 yards and 13 touchdowns, played ball at Oklahoma, and he's been the running back coach there. Right now, he's the running backs coach at Oklahoma. And certainly the current running backs room in Columbus is loaded and would be enviable for any coach. So we'll see what happens there. Hey, also speaking of the Buckeyes, former Buckeye and Tennessee Titan head coach Mike Vrabel was fired at the end of the NFL season. Big surprise to a lot of people. Also surprising was the fact that he was not hired by somebody else during the NFL coaching cycle. So he's a bit of a free agent, just hanging around, deciding what to do. And there was talk of him joining his friend and fellow Buckeye Luke Fickell, who's now the head coach of Wisconsin, as some kind of consultant for a year, just to bide his time, stay involved in football. That never panned out. It looks like Vrabel is staying in the NFL, and he's headed to the Browns. He's coming to the state of Ohio. He'll be a personnel consultant and a coaching consultant. But the fact that he's going to be in the state of Ohio, does that mean the Ryan Day hot seat gets cranked back up again with Mike Vrabel around the corner? Former Buckeyes linebacker living nearby? The rumors will begin, but we won't start them here. Spring football began on Tuesday in East Lansing, and Michigan State football coach Jonathan Smith talked to the media, and he informed everyone that 3 players are no longer with the team, so we'll tell you who they are. Jalen Barbarin was a 3-star running back for the 2023 class. He just recorded 1 snap this year. It was a 1-yard run against Iowa. A very speedy athlete, just had trouble getting on the field as a true freshman. Many true freshmen do. But he was expected to play for battle for playing time in 2024. Not with the team anymore. Veteran linebacker Maya Tiote is a 4-star. He flipped from Southern Cal to Michigan State back in 2021. Had a forced fumble and 15 tackles in his limited play. He's gone. And walk-on Aubrey Dawkins, who joined in 2020 and never played. He's gone. No explanation was given for any of the departures. We don't know if they're going to portal out or whether they were asked to leave. We don't know. Jonathan Smith didn't offer any other details on it. Just that they are no longer with the Spartans, and the Spartans started spring football yesterday on Tuesday. Those 3 players will not be part of the deal. Hey, I was curious, do you watch like Fox Sports or ESPN on your TV during daytime sports TV? Daytime sports TV is a little wonky. It's a little loud, a lot of arguing, a lot of talking over each other. You don't get that here, just me. But you can put all that shouting aside. You can make the switch to Locked On Sports Today, a free 24/7 sports streaming channel programmed for you every day to bring you the biggest stories without all the screaming. Locked On Sports Today brings you can't miss analysis, opinions, and news, streaming 24/7. And also the free Amazon Fire TV channels app is out there. You can watch it on there. It's all part of the Locked On Podcast Network, your team every day. All right, believe it or not, it's time for the final Big Ten men's basketball power rankings by us. We do that every Wednesday throughout the season. We're into the NCAA tournament. We did not go chalk on this deal, but we will share that with you and see where your team is in 1 minute right here on the Locked On Big Ten. This week's March Madness bracket highlight is brought to you by our friends at Nissan. Each week, we're picking one team that stands out, a team that's pushed it further than the rest. And just like any of the all-new 2024 Nissan SUVs, these guys were able to take it to the next level. And the team I'm focusing on this week is the Nebraska Cornhuskers. Obviously, this week's Nissan Rogue, team that absolutely surprised everybody with powerful performance, fantastic shooting. Going undefeated at home in the Big Ten play this year. And I think they've got a lot of momentum going into the NCAA tournament. And they say, win life, go rogue. And that's exactly what the Huskers have done here. Take the Nissan Rogue, the Nissan Pathfinder, or the Nissan Armada and go find your next big adventure. Shop NissanUSA.com. That's NissanUSA.com. All right, let's do this. I'm going to put it up on the screen. Our Big Ten power rankings, men's basketball, last one of the year. If you're on audio only, I'll try and describe what I'm putting on screen as best as I can. And here we go. Let's take a look. All right. So I thought long and hard about making Illinois number one. After all, they won the Big Ten tournament. They're hot as a firecracker right now. But I think with the body of work that the Purdue Boilermakers did, I'm going to keep them at number one. They're number one seed in the NCAA tournament. Illinois, after all, is a number 3 seed. So Purdue got bounced a little early by Wisconsin in the Big Ten tournament. And you know what? I think that benefits them. I really do. It gives them an extra day of rest. I've told you on yesterday's podcast and many others before, the Big Ten's at a little bit of a disadvantage playing its championship game on that Sunday. Other conferences are done by Saturday. Get that extra day of rest. You know, if you're turning around, you got a Thursday game in the NCAA tournament after playing on Sunday, it's a bit of a disadvantage, I think. So anyway, Purdue should be rested, good to go. Home game basically in Indianapolis. So Purdue, the number 1 seed. I do have Illinois at number 2. Terrence Shannon Jr., 74 points for Illinois in the last 2 games. And of course, they beat Wisconsin for the Big Ten championship. But he's on fire. You get a chance to see Illinois play in the NCAA tournament. I highly suggest you do. Meanwhile, I'm moving Wisconsin up to number 3. I had almost given up on Wisconsin. They were horrible in February and March. Couldn't hit the side of the barn with the jump shots. It was bad. And then all of a sudden they made like every shot in the Big Ten tournament. Not every shot, but one game they shot like 65% from 3-land. It was incredible. And so they're red hot right now. Can they keep it going for another week or two? I've got them at number 3 in the Big Ten in my final standings here. And they beat number 1 seed Purdue in overtime in the semifinals. They deserve some love there. At number 4, the Nebraska Cornhuskers, who I just was talking about, the most entertaining team in the Big Ten. And Casey Tominanga, fantastic shooter. So watch them. They got Texas A&M in the first round of the NCAA tournament. I'm also going to give Michigan State some love. I did not think they were going to make the NCAA tournament, but they played their way in. And I'm going to put them at number 5 in the Big Ten. And Tom Izzo, congratulations. He continues his streak, 26 straight years now, making it into the NCAA tournament. I did not think they were going to make it. Northwestern at number 6. They're in the show. Boo Buie and Chris Collins, great job. They did give up 10 threes to Wisconsin in the quarterfinal. I told you a moment ago how hot Wisconsin was from 3-land. Yeah, 10 of them to Northwestern, gave up 10 of them. That probably wasn't ideal. They need to button that down a little bit. I've got Ohio State at number 7, a respectable number 7, Jake Diebler. I think got him within 1 game of making the NCAA tournament. The 6 out of 7 that they won during that one stretch, and then ultimately losing to the Big Ten tournament champion Illinois by 3 points. Great effort. Jake Diebler got the job. The interim tag removed, got a 5-year contract. Very happy for him. He deserved it. Iowa is at number 8. And the Indiana Hoosiers, who went 1-1 in the Big Ten tournament, are number 9. Got Minnesota, the Golden Gophers, coming in at number 10. So there's 1 through 10. Here's the best of the rest. Penn State Nittany Lions. I expect better things out of Mike Rhodes next year. I think he showed some promise this year for that basketball team. They played hard. Maryland Terps got some work to do. Jameer Young, though, was a one-man band. He made first team all Big Ten all by himself. Rutgers at number 13, and Michigan, after firing Juwan Howard after a bad season, they finish it out with 24 losses and last in our power ranking. So that's how I see it. And I got to come up with something new for next Wednesday, something new to rank. It's a long time till the start of football season, so we'll come up with something. It's always fun. So I hope you enjoyed all that. And you can tell me if you agree or disagree with that list as well. Anytime you want. There are many ways for you to be in touch with me. You can hit me up at Twitter or X at TalkBig10 on our website, TalkBig10 10.com, and also on YouTube with all the comments there. Before you go, be sure to subscribe. Just click it on real quick, and that's it. It's free. It helps us, and you're in our Big Ten club. And you can follow this podcast right now on your favorite podcast app, and you get the latest episode of Locked On Big Ten as soon as it becomes available each and every day. Audio version's out. If you're audio only, however you get the podcast, as early as 4 a.m. Eastern. Video on YouTube comes out at 6 a.m. You can be part of that. You subscribe, boom, you set your notifications, you'll be good to go. Tell a friend about us too, especially if you know somebody who's a Big Ten alum. And after this is over, feel free to watch another one of Locked On Big Ten. We got them all right there. And if you want to go back and find some old ones in the archives, go to our website, talkbig10 10.com. They're all there, and they're even grouped by your favorite team. You can also check out check out Locked On's new first ever 24/7 sports streaming channel on YouTube called Locked On Sports Today. It's there as well. We got the NCAA tournament. We're ready to roll. We got spring football. Let's do this every day. You and me. Always appreciate it. For Locked On Big Ten, I'm Craig Sheeman. Talk to you next time.